When it comes to mid-size three-row crossover SUVs, vehicles like the Ford Explorer and the Toyota Highlander are the most popular models here in America. However, Nissan wanted a big chunk of that sales pie when they reintroduced the Pathfinder back in 2013. Shying away from their truck-based heritage, Nissan went all in on car-based utility vehicles with that generation Pathfinder, known as the fourth generation here in America. Now, sadly for Nissan, it sold pretty well, but it also didn't get really great reviews, which is why the company is introducing an all-new version for 2022. It's got styling that takes a lot of inspiration, of course, from the boxy truck-based Nissan Armada, and because the vehicle is much larger, Nissan's also made the interior far more roomier. They've added a lot more tech, and they finally dumped the CVT and replaced it with a 9-speed automatic transmission. So if you guys are looking for a family-friendly three-row SUV, how does the all-new redesigned Pathfinder stack up? Stay tuned to find out. So a few months ago, I was in Montana to finally get a first drive opportunity with the completely redesigned Pathfinder. And I have to say, I was genuinely impressed, but now that I have the vehicle for a full week to test, I can live with it, I can test out the fuel economy, we can redo the 0 to 60 testing, but we can also find out, is this really worthy of the Pathfinder name, and has Nissan actually made it a lot better? Let's first, of course, start with the styling, because from where I'm standing, this vehicle certainly looks a lot more appealing versus the previous generation. Now, at first glance, when you walk up to the Pathfinder, you might confuse it for an Armada because, of course, we have the company's signature V-Motion grille, which has been enlarged this year significantly. But you can see Nissan has also significantly upped the technology. As you can see, this one here is the fully loaded Platinum grade. This is the most expensive, highest grade that you can buy. It includes things, of course, like the chrome around the V-Motion grille. It's got the new Nissan logo here, which almost looks like it lights up with the white outline. It sadly does not. It would be nice if they did that. And you can see here, all Pathfinders come with LED low and high beam headlights. You have LED daytime running lights, and you can see, sadly, the turn signals are just an incandescent. Was really shocked they didn't give us a full LED, but you do get LED fog lights down there at the lower part of the front fascia. This kind of black plastic look, I kind of wish that Nissan had painted it a matte black, and I believe their company will eventually offer like a black package. You cannot get that right now on the Platinum grade models, and that's something that's very trendy, so Nissan will probably add that maybe next year or the year after that. Now, in terms of the rest of the styling around the side profile, you can see a lot more boxy design that may actually trick you into thinking that Nissan switched back to a body on frame or a rear drive architecture. Sadly, they did not. This is still based, of course, off the same platform that underpins the Rogue. It's just been enlarged. Its overall length is around 197 inches long. This is one of the larger options in the segment, which gives the Pathfinder significantly more interior space. And if you guys plan to take this vehicle off-road, it sadly only has about 7 inches of ground clearance, so it's not going to go too far off the beaten path. It's still very much a mall finder, and you can see that in the wheels. These are a 20-inch wheel wrapped in Bridgestone all-season tires. And they do fill out the wheel wells pretty nicely. These are 255/50s all around. You're probably not going to want to go with this tire if you want to actually do some off-roading. Nissan did show like a dealer accessory, like off-road worthy package, but again, this is still very much a car-based SUV underneath. And you can also get the options like this two-tone roof, which looks pretty good on this gray exterior color. My tester also has the pano roof, which again lets in a lot of light. It's got these black painted side mirrors. You also have nicely integrated turn signal mirrors. And you can see on the side, it spells out Pathfinder there on the rear door. You have more of the cladding along the side to give this vehicle more of a truckier look. And then at the back, I think the vehicle also looks equally handsome back here. Although I'm sad to report the incandescent taillights continue at the rear, where you can see the turn signal is incandescent, but the brake lights have like a partial LED finish. Nissan again spells out Pathfinder at the back. There's a Platinum badge, and then you have the new Nissan logo over here, which again looks like it lights up. Down here you can see my tester already has the tow package. This will tow a maximum of 6,000 pounds. And I think the rear styling works really well on this car. I haven't seen the Infinity version of this car in person, but I should be testing that very soon. But I will say that Nissan did a really great job on just the regular Pathfinder. Now, looking at the cargo area, because it's larger this year, you now have more space. You get 16.6 cubic feet of space with the third row seat up. Third row seating comes standard. This vehicle will seat up to 8 people. Underneath here, you can see pretty deep storage cubby, which is nice. You can hide stuff down there. And then if you want, you can basically pull on these straps right here and then fold down these seats, When you fold down the seat here, it expands it out to around 47 cubic feet of space. And then if you fold down the second row as well, Nissan says you'll get just under 80 cubic feet of space, which is actually a little bit less than the maximum you're going to get something like a Volkswagen Atlas or a Ford Explorer, but it still offers plenty of room and lots of practicality for most families. So now let's talk about the interior of the completely redesigned Pathfinder. Sadly, the key, however, is still the same key, although I shouldn't complain too much about the key because they did add the new Nissan logo, and it's a nice size key. It even includes remote start on the fob, so if you just push and hold this button here, the vehicle will start right up, which is nice on those chilly mornings. I believe you can also access the remote start through the Nissan Connect app, which I'm not going to be able to show you, of course, because this is not my personal vehicle. Now, opening the door and looking at the interior, you can see my tester here has a really beautiful color combination with the light gray two-tone, and then, of course, with this chestnut interior with the black accents, the contrasting stitching. This full leather interior is unique to the platinum grade model. So if you want this beautiful chestnut interior, you have to go all in on the full grade platinum because the SL trim only offers, I believe, a black and a gray interior. So this looks really great, especially with this color combination. You can see that beautiful leather is kind of continued onto the door panel here where it's nice and soft padded, it's nice and stitched, padded over here. Of course, then you even have this real metal-like trim right here, which looks pretty nice. It is hard touch plastic down here, but you can see piano black plastic outlines the window controls, which have a nice high quality tactile feel with this metal accented door handle, which is nice. The lighting, however, I can see here incandescent and incandescent on the roof. So I'm really sad to see that Nissan didn't put full LED lighting in the cabin, which I imagine owners will change, or they'll just go for the Infinity version of this vehicle. Now, once you get in, it's got a relatively easy higher step in position because of the 7 inches of ground clearance. And you can see the interior makes a really great first impression. When I shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, so that again adds to a really nice impression of quality. Now once I push the start stop button, which is right here where I expect it to be, the vehicle obviously turns on. It's got a completely digital display here. I believe it measures 12 inches. This is unique to the platinum grade models. All the lower trim Pathfinders will have a half digital, half analog display. You can even push this button right here and you can change the way the meter looks, where it does this really cool little graphic dance. You can kind of adjust what you want to show right there on the center screen by pushing this little button over here. So that looks really nice. It looks very modern. And of course here you have a 9-inch Nissan connected infotainment system, which includes wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. So again, really nice. Although I think Nissan could have gone bigger. They should have gone with a 12-inch display instead of this 9-inch. There's a lot of unused real estate here on the side of the screen, which is, necessary considering you have a volume knob here and a tuning knob, but I think a larger display is what some of the competitors have done, and I think Nissan should have done the same thing. Now in terms of the dashboard, you can see this is a soft touch injection molded plastic. My tester also has a heads up display, which is nice. The Bose stereo system also sounds pretty good. It's about what I expect from Bose. And then the steering wheel, I wasn't expecting this. It's a power tilt and telescoping design. So usually you don't find that unless you go for a luxury branded vehicle. It's nice to see Nissan gives that to you. You have more beautiful stitching with real leather material on the dash that kind of is accentuated here on this part of the dash onto the lower center console, which is nice. You have a lot of piano black plastic trim. You have dual zone climate control over here with heated and ventilated seats. You have a heated steering wheel as well. The buttons have a nice high quality tactile feel. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you have two-way power or two-way memory seating here, two settings for the memory seating. And then you have a 12-way power adjustment for the driver's side. However, I will say the passenger seat only adjusts in 4 ways, which is just inexcusable in the platinum grade. I think the seat is too low, and this could be a deal breaker for some of you who are always riding shotgun. I couldn't adjust the passenger seat to get comfortable. The driver's seat's fine, but not the passenger side. So that's something to keep in mind. Over here you can see there's a wireless phone charging pad, some good storage. When I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's the full 360 camera with parking sensors, really great graphics and resolution. It's got Nissan's moving object detection, so it will automatically hit the brakes if something crosses over around the vehicle in the front or the rear whenever you're backing up or moving forward. So that's, again, really great safety tech. This shifter also is electronic. It's new. You push this little trigger button here, push it up to go into reverse, kick it back to go into drive, and then push the P button to go into park. Some more plastic around here. This area here with your cup holders. You have an electronic parking brake now, and this is your drive mode selector. You can see here the vehicle will always default to that normal setting, but if you kick it over to the left or the right, you can change it between mud, snow, sand, automatic, and then if you push the center button, you can go between an eco, sport, and a tow mode, which we'll try out the different drive modes later on in the test drive, but it's cool that Nissan, again, is giving you that a level of adjustability. It's pretty much what you expect nowadays. The map display, you can see Nissan hasn't really changed it too much. They've made it faster over the years, and it works kind of like a tablet. The map graphics aren't really anything super special, but the system itself is pretty easy to use, and it works well. The screen is bright, it's easy to see as well. There's a nice padded center console over here. Then when you open this up, it's got a good amount of storage underneath there, more piano black plastic trim. Above me, as I mentioned earlier, just incandescent lighting. You have a massive panoramic roof on this trim, which again has a nice power retractable shade. It stops halfway if you don't want the middle passengers to get the sun, or you can open it all the way completely. The glove box, you can see, is a bin style. It's pretty big. There's another shelf over here, although one detail that annoys me is the fact that this doesn't completely line up with the dashboard. I really wanted Nissan to address that and make that more flush. And I also noticed another build quality issue here where this panel gap doesn't line up properly, which again, my tester could just be a very early pre-production model, so I'll have to wait to see, or hopefully the ones that you guys take the delivery of will be slightly nicer. But overall, the cabin has plenty of space, great visibility, comfortable seats aside from the lack of adjustments on the passenger side, and great tech. So this is one of the nicer cabins in the segment, and I think a lot of buyers are going to be pretty pleased with what Nissan has done here. So let's move to the second and the third row of this vehicle. Remember, this is supposed to be a family car, and one of the new additions this year, of course, was when Nissan added the captain's chairs. You could never get this before in the previous generation. This is a feature that a lot of buyers really like. It's included as standard on the Platinum, which means this will only seat a maximum of 7. On the SL, you can go to an 8-passenger seating configuration if you'd like. Now you can see here in terms of the door panels, it's got the same beautiful soft touch leather materials, padding over here, and then you also have these manual sunshades, which is nice. A lot of good window controls, high quality window controls. They're one-touch automatic for all 4. And then you can see here, in terms of the legroom, Nissan says there's 35.5 inches, which is actually on the small side. I'm surprised it's not more, but once I get in here, you can see at 5'7", I have a ton of legroom back here. So there's also a completely flat floor, which is nice if you guys go for the bench model. This center console right here actually comes out. So if you remove this little cover right here, there's a little latch right here which you can push up, and this whole console comes out. It's pretty lightweight. There's no place to store it in the vehicle, so you have to actually leave it in your garage, but it creates a nice little access point between the two captain's chairs if you don't want to actually have to use the flip and fold feature. Now you can see here, nice storage compartments in the front seat backs. You have 3-level heated rear seats, but you can't get cooled seats. Some competitors offer that. You also have your own set of climate control, so it's technically tri-zone. And then you can see standard household power outlet, 2 USB charging ports over there, which is nice. And then you can see the sunroof kind of abruptly cuts off here. I kind of wanted Nissan to extend it, or at least give us a 3rd-row sunroof. They do offer that on some of the competitors, but sadly Nissan does not do that. You do have some more lighting over here. You have your rear seat vents on the roof, as opposed to being down here, which also is carried over into the 3rd row. Now, speaking of which, the 3rd row is down. Let me go ahead and put that up so you guys can see what the space is like back there. Now, to get back into the 3rd row, there's a button here that makes it very easy. If you just push this button here, you can see the seat just catapults forward. And the cool thing about both of these seats is it actually allows you to keep a child seat in place here and get access to the 3rd row. You can see you push it forward a little bit. It gives you a lot of space to get into the back. Now, Nissan says there's about 29 inches of legroom back here. 29 inches of legroom certainly isn't a lot, but I do like these massive head restraints that come with this vehicle. You can see, let me scooch over, oh my gosh, to the side here. Oh, it's pretty tight. I would have to ask the passenger here to move their seat forward, because remember, this is pretty small and I'm not a very tall person. The seat back does give you the ability to recline, because right now it's a little bit too upward, but you can see the vehicle's body is wide enough to allow 3 people across. And in terms of materials back here, there is rear seat air vents, but everything's kind of hard touch plastic. Thankfully, Nissan did include a USB-A charging port over there, hard touch plastic, but cup holders, a little bit of storage here. So the 3rd row is on the smaller end. That's kind of where the competitors have a little bit more space, but this does feel a little bit more spacious than the last Highlander that I was in. But I believe the Atlas, the Telluride, the Palisade, they offer more space in the 3rd row. Now, under the hood of the new Pathfinder, if you're looking for an electrified option or a turbocharged option, you're going to have to look elsewhere because Nissan only offers one engine underneath the hood for this new generation. It's their company's tried and true, naturally aspirated 3.5-liter V6. Now, of course, you guys should know this V6 because Nissan has had this motor in production for over 20 years. They did give it a significant overhaul in 2017 when they added direct injection, and it also has variable valve timing to make 284 horsepower and 259 pound-feet of torque. Those are the same numbers as the 2020 model, the previous generation. The big news, of course, is Nissan has ditched the CVT for a new 9-speed automatic transmission. The 9-speed is actually built by ZF. It's technically the same transmission that you'll also find under the hood of the current generation Honda Pilot. So the stepped automatic, of course, should give it more durability, increased performance. We'll test that out, of course, when we get it out on the road. The beauty about the Pathfinder is it does tow among the higher end of the segment at 6,000 pounds, and fuel economy for this particular one here, the Platinum with the 20-inch wheels, does drop it slightly to 20 in the city, 25 on the highway. Regular gas is recommended. 0 to 60 should be right under the 7-second range. We're going to finally test that out, of course, now that I have my 0 to 60 equipment. And the curb weight of the Pathfinder has gone up because this vehicle is heavier. It weighs in at just over 4,600 pounds. So it's been roughly 6 months or so since I drove the all-new Pathfinder out in Montana. Now, sadly, in those conditions, it was cold, it was cold during a weird time of the year, and it was also snowing, and we were at elevation. So now that I have the car during the cold, of course, but at least it's not snowing at sea level, I can finally drive this vehicle and test out the 0 to 60 performance and see what it's like to live with on a daily basis. And I have to say, I really liked the way the Pathfinder drove when I initially drove it, and after spending, the last few days with this vehicle, it's pretty much solidifying my, first take on this car. It is, without a doubt, a really well-rounded vehicle that Nissan has significantly improved versus the previous generation. Now, the first thing I do want to test out, what can this do 0 to 60 with that new 9-speed automatic? I've got the vehicle in sport mode here. It's got a naturally aspirated V6. We're going to brake torque it a little bit. It was really sluggish getting off the line there, but nice shifts from the 9-speed, good sounding engine. Wow, I just got 0 to 60 in 6.56 seconds. That's actually a lot faster than I thought it would be. It felt considerably slower out in Montana, but here, now that the car is at sea level, I've got it in my home turf, it is surprisingly quick. And the V6 also sounds good. You gotta love a naturally aspirated V6. Nissan continues to do a good one with their VQ. It's an old engine, but she sure is durable and just well known. This is a proven engine. Nissan's been doing this engine for pretty much as long as Honda with their J-Series engine. It actually kind of feels like a Honda. Remember, the transmission for this vehicle comes from ZF. This is the 9-speed ZF that Honda also uses in the Pilot. Although this transmission is going to get phased out eventually for the 10-speed in Hondas, Nissan again is just using a transmission that is much better versus the CVT. So we'll try that one more time, see what we can get here. I won't brake torque it this time. It's in sport mode. 0 to 60 in 6.79 seconds. So very impressive performance. This puts it right around the faster of the offerings. I mean, I believe the Subaru Ascent is still quicker. But 0 to 60 performance aside, that's not what people buy these crossovers for. The vehicle itself just drives really nice. It's got a really good commanding view of the road. It's got comfortable zero-gravity, NASA-inspired front seats. It's got an interior that's so much better versus the previous generation. And the transmission, when you have it in sport mode, it's surprisingly responsive. There are times where I do notice it is a naturally aspirated engine and you have to rev the engine to get any performance out of it, but it sounds good when it does that. And Nissan's also done a good job at quelling the vibrations. The old VQ engines used to be so rattly. They used to just vibrate the seats and the pedals and the steering wheel. They've definitely improved that through, I guess, better sound deadening, better engine mounts that quell the vibration. It's a good powertrain. So if you prefer a naturally aspirated V6 with a stepped automatic, this is the one you're going to want to look at. And it's pretty much on par with the last Pilot that I drove, the last Highlander I drove with the base V6. It is a really good combination for most people. Now, in terms of the driving feel, listen to that engine again. Nice sound, good shifts. This is not one of the sportier offerings, which is fine with me. The sportier offerings are, the Mazda CX-9 and the Subaru Ascent. but it's kind of comfortably straddling that middle ground. It kind of reminds me of the last Palisade and Telluride that I drove. It's very heavy feeling, it's very hefty and just secure. It inspires confidence, but it's also not terribly big, but you do feel the width of this car. Nissan made this new generation wider. It's got most of the company's driver assistance tech as long as you go for the SV trim. You really need to go for the SV trim and spend like an extra $4,000 to get that trim. The base version has their Pro Pilot and such, the intelligent emergency braking, but if you want like their adaptive cruise control, you need to step it up to the SV trim. This one has all of that stuff, and for the most part, it works pretty well. I think Nissan in general really had a lot of work to do with their interiors, with their technology. In terms of the infotainment system here, this is still on the smaller side at 9 inches. It's actually the larger display. 8 inches is the standard size, but you know, I'm overall very impressed. The ride quality also was kind of an issue with the previous generation, and this one is certainly much better. Even with these 20-inch wheels on this particular model here, it rides really well, it handles well, it's easy to see out of. This car in general is just really easy to live with. And in terms of fuel economy, in my week's worth of testing, I was averaging around 21 mpg in mostly mixed city driving. On the highway, it got around 26 mpg, so a little bit better than what the EPA says at 2025. The smaller wheel optioned models will get slightly better mpg by 1 mile per gallon. But overall, it is a really nice car. So I'm genuinely impressed. And I haven't driven the Infinity version of this car, the QX60. I'm hoping to get that vehicle soon. But just know that it has the same V6, the same 9-speed auto as this car. So they should drive mechanically pretty much the same, although the Infinity is going to take the interior up to a next level. This one here certainly is very, very nice. I don't want to say it's class leading in terms of luxury and tech. There are a couple of areas in this interior where I noticed Nissan could have sweated the details a little bit more. For example, there's a gap right here on this side that's a little bit too wide at the top end, but a little bit more narrow at the bottom end. And then the interior lighting in this vehicle, I noticed at night, showed a little bit of non-consistency with the color of the lighting, but that's kind of a small nitpick feature. But other than that, like the overall feel of this car, and I think I would probably choose this over a Pilot. I would probably choose it over a Highlander, assuming you don't need the hybrid version, which gets one of the best gas miles in the segment. I'd probably choose this over the Volkswagen Atlas as well. But it gets me excited because Nissan has a lot of work to do. And I think this new Pathfinder, if you're looking for a family SUV, a right-sized one that doesn't cost an arm and a leg compared to the Korean twins that I mentioned, this is certainly a really nice option to look at. And don't be surprised to see Nissan dealers having trouble keeping this new Pathfinder in stock. So just a few years ago, I would have told you to skip the Pathfinder altogether because I just didn't feel it was competitive enough in a segment that's constantly changing, that's also among the hottest segments here in America. A lot of families really appreciate these large 3-row family SUVs. And after spending a full week with the all-new Pathfinder, I'm actually really impressed. And I have to say, I would choose this model over something like the current generation Pilot, over the Atlas, or even the Highlander. The Highlander with the V6, I think this is slightly more appealing. The Highlander Hybrid is slightly better. Really, my top picks in the segment are the Kia Telluride and Hyundai Palisade and the Subaru Ascent, and now this vehicle. This is a really enticing proposition. It all even comes down to where Nissan has priced this vehicle, which we'll get to in just a second. I think the ride and handling has improved. I think the 9-speed is really smooth and surprisingly responsive in this vehicle. And I was shocked by the 0-60 performance in the mid 6-second range. It's pretty much as quick as the Honda Pilot, slightly faster than a Toyota Highlander, and also slightly just as fast as something like the Subaru Ascent with its turbocharged engine, and way faster than the Volkswagen Atlas. Now, of course, let's move on to the pricing because this vehicle is on sale now, and it starts at just over $33,000 for the base SV version. Add about $1,500 if you guys want all-wheel drive. I imagine most of you are going to do that. You at least want to spend another $4,000 to get the SV trim to get all the necessary tech features that buyers expect nowadays. This fully loaded Platinum, however, is considerably more expensive, starting at around $48,000. That's before destination. That's before you add things like the welcome lighting package that my tester has, the two-tone paint for $350. All in, this one here is pretty expensive at $51,385. Now, that is a lot of money, but it is about the same price as most of its competitors. So I think Nissan has thrown in a lot of tech in this vehicle, a lot of space, a lot of practicality, and they've packaged it within a price structure that's very competitive among its peers. So really, if you're looking for a vehicle like this, I can happily say that the Pathfinder should be at the very top of your list, especially if you're tired of seeing all those Explorers and Highlanders and Pilots out there, because this car definitely turns a lot of heads. I actually noticed that people really like the styling of it. People seem to really like the boxy design. And once Nissan adds an electrified version of this vehicle and they improve the fuel economy, I think it'll only continue to get better. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.